What if I told you that some of the most chilling encounters in the foggy woods have been experienced by those who dared to wander too far, and most people have never heard of them? Tonight, we'll explore 3 disturbing true horror stories, from a hidden cabin in the mist, to an ancient willow cloaked in fog, to a voice in the woods that wasn't human. Make sure you're ready, because what you're about to hear might haunt your thoughts long after it's over. And now let's step into the first one. In the heart of an overgrown forest, the shadows lengthened, weaving between the twisted branches and gnarled roots. Ferns whispered secrets in the unsettling breeze, and a thick fog drifted like a shroud, veiling everything in an ethereal pallor. Emily, a young woman with a penchant for exploration, had heard tales of a forgotten cabin deep within these woods, a place where the past lingered even after the living had moved on. With her heart racing and a mix of excitement and dread churning in her stomach, she ventured down the winding path, each step echoing with the crunch of dried leaves and the rustle of unseen creatures hiding just out of sight. The deeper she wandered, the more the oppressive silence wrapped around her, as if the forest were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Finally she spotted it. A dilapidated cabin, half swallowed by the earth and creeping vines. The windows were cracked and dark, resembling sunken eyes peering into a world they could no longer comprehend. Squaring her shoulders, she approached, her breath hitching at the thought of what she might uncover within. The door creaked open, a long-forgotten invitation filled with a musty scent of decay and memory. Inside, the air was thick with dust, each particle illuminated by slivers of light breaking through the dirty windows. Old furniture lay strewn about like the remnants of a failed life, an overturned chair, a cracked mirror reflecting only the gloom around her. Emily's pulse quickened, alternating between fear and curiosity. She pressed forward, drawn to a staircase, its steps sagging under the weight of countless unacknowledged secrets. As she ascended, the wood groaned beneath her, and a chill flickered across her skin, almost beckoning her to turn back. But something pulled her onward, an insatiable need to uncover what lay at the top. There she discovered a small room, its walls lined with portraits of somber faces. They appeared to watch her, their expressions frozen in sorrow, as if warning her that some doors are best left unopened. Then she noticed a peculiar painting in the corner, different from the others. It was an eerie depiction of a girl with hauntingly familiar features, a girl who could have been Emily herself, captured in a moment of despair beneath a darkened sky. A wave of nausea washed over her, and instinctual alarm bells ringing in her mind. The air turned heavy, pressing against her chest as she stumbled back, wanting to escape, to flee before whatever presence resided there ensnared her. But then she heard it, a soft, almost innocuous whisper drifting through the air, the words threading like a spider's web around her mind. "Stay with me," it beckoned, a voice laced with despair and longing. Terrified, Emily spun around only to find no one there, the empty room echoing her panic. The whisper intensified, swirling until it filled her mind, drowning her in a sea of voices, a cacophony of pleading, sorrow, and rage. "Stay with me, I won't let you leave." Emily turned to flee, scrambling down the staircase in a frenzy. Each step felt as if she was being dragged back, an invisible force tethering her to the cabin's dark history. The door wouldn't budge, it slammed shut as though it had a will of its own. Panic surged through her, and she slammed against it, desperate for freedom, her breath quickening until the room spun. Just when she thought the force would crush her, it relented, the door creaking open as if releasing her for having passed a test of will. She stumbled into the forest, the daylight bathing her in a false sense of safety. Heart racing, she sprinted back the way she came, branches scratching at her sides, the whispers now a chorus, warning her she was not alone. As she broke free from the trees, Fear coursed through her as she glanced back just once, expecting the cabin to remain hauntingly still. Instead, it was gone, the ground where it stood just bare earth and broken branches. In the place of the forgotten structure was an unsettling quiet, as if the forest was inhaling deeply, ready to purge the truth buried within. Days turned to weeks, and no matter how far she ran, she felt its presence shadowing her. The whispers never ceased, weaving through her thoughts, growing louder at night when she was most vulnerable. Yesterday she saw her reflection in a mirror, and for the first time, it didn't quite reflect her. The girl with familiar features stared back, smile twisted and eyes pleading. "Stay with me." The echo danced along her spine, now a familiar lullaby. And one wind-strewn night, when the air felt especially thick with intrigue, she found herself drawn back to the edge of those woods, compelled to rejoin the shadows. What had once been a heart full of fright was now bubbling with a morbid curiosity. Perhaps it was time to answer the call. Our journey continues. The fog grows thicker, and this next place hides a secret rooted deep in the earth, beneath the shadow of an old willow tree. Let's step closer. The fog rolled in thick as night descended upon the little town of Eldermere. The streets, usually bustling with life, lay ominously empty, the only sound being the distant echo of a clock striking 8. Lydia clutched her coat tightly around her, the chill seeping through the fabric into her very bones. She could almost taste the dampness in the air, a metallic tang that made her stomach turn. She walked towards the edge of town, the fog wrapped around her like a shroud, soothing and suffocating at once. The old willow tree loomed ahead, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. It was a spot children dared each other to visit, a place whispered about in hushed tones, the Willow of Whispers. Lydia had heard the tales growing up, that at night it spoke to those who dared to listen. Curiosity gnawed at her. What would it be like to hear the whispers? Surely they were just stories born from the imaginations of anxious children. She stepped closer, the damp ground squelching beneath her boots, her heart racing with both fear and thrill. Suddenly the whisper began. It felt like a breeze brushing past her ear, too soft to catch the words. She strained to hear, stepping closer to the tree. "Lydia," it called, the voice unmistakably familiar. It was the voice of her late mother, gentle yet urgent. "Come closer." Chills danced up her spine. She hesitated, doubt creeping in. The tales spoke of those who lost their way, never to return. But the sound of her mother's voice was too enticing. She stepped forward, tears building in her eyes, longing to feel that connection once more. "Mom," she whispered, her breath fogging in the cool air. "Is that really you?" "Yes, dear. It's me," the voice echoed softly. "I'm waiting for you. Come get me. Together we can leave this place. I have missed you so much." Lydia's heart pounded as she reached out, fingers trembling as they brushed against the rough bark of the willow. She could almost imagine her mother standing just beyond the veil of fog, waiting with open arms. The air felt electric, charged with a longing she could barely comprehend. But then came the realization, cold and abrupt. "No," she gasped, pulling back as the whispers shifted into something darker. Distorted laughter slithered through the fog, wrapping around her like a noose. The familiar warmth of her mother's voice twisted into a demand, sharp and sinister. "Come, Lydia, you're so close now. Just take my hand." Panic surged through her and she turned to run, but the air thickened, weighing down her legs, roots from the tree snaking outwards, grabbing at her heels. The laughter grew, echoing her fear. The whispers turned into a cacophony of voices, overlapping and indistinguishable. She stumbled, trying to break free from the binds of the tree, but it felt like they were merging with her, pulling her into their realm. "Stay with us," the voices beckoned. "Forever." With a last, desperate scream, Lydia ripped away from the grasp, her spirit screaming even louder. She ran blindly, guided only by the pinpricks of terror igniting every sense. The fog seemed to part, leading her back toward town. But as she emerged from the mist swirling behind her, her heart sank. The streets were empty as if all life had been drained away. The clock tower stood eerily silent. The warm lights in the windows of houses flickered out one by one, leaving her in darkness as if the entire town had vanished. She stumbled to a stop, gasping for breath, alone and isolated in this sudden void. Taking a shaky breath, she looked back towards the willow tree. The whispers were gone, though she felt their presence lingering, insistent. And then, standing right where she had escaped, she saw her mother, or what resembled her. A gaunt, hollow face with eyes too bright, holding out a hand that was not hers to take. The apparition smiled, the corners of its mouth twisting into something grotesque. "Lydia," it sang, the fog billowing behind with an unsettling energy. "You've come home." As a shiver racked her body, she realized with dawning horror that home was no longer a place she could return to. With a final echoing laugh, the town of Eldermere faded into the mist, leaving Lydia forever lost in the whispers of the darkness. And now we move to the final tale. A fog-shrouded path, a whisper in the darkness, and a voice that was never human. This is the one you won't soon forget. The forest was thick with mist, a veil that swallowed sound and light alike. Lucy had wandered off the well-trodden path, lured by a whispering voice, barely audible amid the rustling leaves. She had always felt drawn to the woods, a pull that thrummed in her veins, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. But something was different today. As she pushed farther into the thicket, the atmosphere shifted, charged with an unnameable dread. The trees twisted overhead, their branches curling like gnarled fingers reaching for her. Shadows danced along the ground, flickering in and out of her view like restless spirits. Lucy called out, hoping to hear a familiar reply, but the only sound was the soft crunch of dead leaves beneath her feet. She shivered, a chill creeping down her spine that had nothing to do with the cool air. "Hello." She ventured again, her voice sounding small in the suffocating silence. A faint echo met her ears, but it wasn't her own. The voice was too soft, too melodic, winding through the trees, coaxing her deeper into the woods. Against her better judgment, Lucy followed. The deeper she ventured, the thicker the mist became, wrapping around her like a shroud. She pressed on, the voice now a part of her, promising secrets if she would only come closer. Goosebumps erupted on her arms as she pressed through thorny underbrush, the thorns grasping at her clothes as if trying to hold her back. She paused for a moment, glancing back toward the path she had come from, but the way was gone, swallowed by the fog. Suddenly, the whisper grew clearer, more demanding. "Help me." It was a plea, one that sent a jolt of urgency through her. Lucy quickened her pace, heart racing as she felt the thrum of something ancient and powerful pulsing in the earth beneath her feet. She stumbled into a small clearing, the fog swirling thickly around her, and in the center stood an old well, its stones slick with moss. The voice emanated from within its dark depths, resonant with sorrow. "Help me. Retrieve what was lost." Lucy felt an inexplicable compulsion to approach, drawn by the promise of a truth concealed in the darkness. She peered over the edge, seeing only the abyss that lay below. "What do you need?" she called down, her voice a fragile thread against the overwhelming silence. "Your soul," the voice hissed, now laced with malice. "Give it to me and I will set you free." Lucy staggered back, a scream clawing at her throat. The air in the clearing chilled, the fog coiling tighter, revealing shadowy figures that danced just beyond her line of sight, their faces obscured, their eyes glinting with feral anticipation. Panic surged through her as she turned to run, but the shadows were faster, closing the distance, cloaked in ethereal mist. They grasped at her, brushing against her skin like ice. "You cannot leave," one whispered, its breath foul and rotten. "Join us, become one with the whispers of the woods." Lucy fought with all her strength, tearing through the mist, yet the trees seemed to shift, blocking her path, warping the world around her. Desperation clawed at her chest. She was trapped, ensnared by the very essence of the forest that had once drawn her in. In her struggle, she caught glimpses of faces in the shadows before her, lost souls, their mouths stretching into silent screams. Then, as if the forest itself recoiled from her fear, the shadows faded momentarily, revealing the well once more. The voice called again, seductive and terrifying. "It's your only chance, save yourself." They promised her everything, the escape from despair, yet the truth lay thick in the air now. She was not the first. Lucy could feel it, the weight of countless souls entwined with her own, urging her to give in. Heart pounding, she took a step back, defiance igniting in her chest. No, she would not become another whisper in the woods. But as she turned away, the mist closed in again, swallowing her screams as the shadows surged around her. The last thing she heard was the echoing laughter that filled the forest, the cold grip of realization washing over her. Deep in the woods, she realized with horror that they were right. She would never leave. The voice was now her own, lost among the whispers. These foggy woods and hidden places carry memories and secrets. Some are better left undisturbed. If you thought these stories were chilling, wait until you explore more inside Shadow Vault Stories. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because the next descent into darkness is coming soon.